I was buying used gear, shooting on it, and reselling it for the same price. I get my money back. Daily, day in, day out, I'm doing like 14-hour days. And that's what I mean by creative endurance. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it, but I'm going to get a robot. I still don't know how I have a robot to this day.
CinePacks,
What is up, and welcome to the CinePacks Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Casey. Today, we're excited to have Cassius King, the visionary behind Cinema Junkies, on today. Cassius is a talented director, cinematographer, and he's made a name for himself. The Cinema Junkies specialize in motion control robot arms, scissor cranes, and even black arm pursuit cars, pushing the limits on what's possible on set. Cassius has worked with many big artists such as Lil Jon, Snoop Dogg, Cardi B, the list goes on. Cassius, thanks for coming on today.
Yo, thank you, Tyler. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on the CinePacks Podcast.
Yep. I appreciate you coming on. We've been working to our studio and the Cinema Junkies. We've been working together a lot, so this is I'm glad we can make this finally happen. I want to get into all that, like especially what you've been doing recently, but let's go back to the beginning. When did this all start for you? When did you really start getting into filmmaking? What was kind of that journey, the beginning of that journey like?
Yeah, I think, beginning of the journey was trying to figure it out in the Bay Area, coming up as a director, music video director, and just really trying to find my way as a creative. And I think that was the root of my journey, was just being in the Bay Area and really solving it for yourself. And that's just that hustle mentality. I feel like if you're from the Bay Area, you're going to go out and hustle and solve it, any problems. And I think some of the problems I had going through was that, my access to equipment or tools I needed was very limited out there in the Bay Area. And my construction, or my background's construction, so I'm always like aware of all the tools I use and need for executing on a job. So that's kind of where my background comes from. And so,
so you were working construction and doing music videos around the same time, right? What originally drew you to picking up a camera? Like, what was that first initial, what was that early stage like?
I could tell you the early stages was filming the homies at house parties and drunken nights and overnight parties and a lot of stuff going on, from brawls to fights to just we had coined this one phrase called drunktv.com. Sick. So people were just coming up to our camera like drunktv.com, and that was one of our things. But we didn't really take flight with it. But yeah, that was like my first
It sounds like he could have been the next world star. No, for sure. That's crazy. But yeah, I came up doing Bay Area music videos as well. So I feel like there's a lot of talent that comes out of the Bay, from especially the music video scene. There's so many directors that have just, transitioned to LA after coming from the Bay Area. And I think that, speaks something about the area and just like the amount of hustle that comes out of the area and talent as well. But did you do any type of schooling or anything like that kind of transitioned into, doing this more as a full-time job?
I think I did the YouTube route, YouTube University. And I think my educational investments went towards mentors and filmmaker master classes and stuff like that. And I was really, really in tune with the online, paying for online courses and going to workshops that were hosted by filmmakers that I was motivated and inspired by. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's definitely a good shortcut, and it's a good place to be able to network and really make those connections. But now I feel like it's hard too, because everyone just has a course and claims they're an expert. Yeah. But I feel like once you do everything free on YouTube, you know what I mean? You've gotten past all right, YouTube can only provide so much value.
Yeah. You definitely hit a ceiling.
Yeah, there's a ceiling at YouTube, but then, so I feel like, it is, you do have to invest. If you're not going to school, especially, like, you should be investing in courses or just like, you know what I mean, meetups or, you know, things to invest in your craft.
Absolutely. I think that's super important to not only get information from people that are doing it, but to also network with your peers that are also looking to do that too.
So what was this Bay Area music video hustle like? Like, were you acquiring gear? Like, were you still working a full-time job? Like, what was this kind of like?
Yeah, I mean, that hustle was like, you know, working my 9 to 5 in construction, along with doing video projects on the weekends, like Saturdays and Sundays. And there was a point in my career, like maybe 2015, that I worked like every weekend for the whole year. So that came out to like 100-something projects.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think that kind of built up that creative endurance. And I've been talking about that creative endurance for a while now. Like, I just did an interview with Atlas, and they were asking about creative endurance. And honestly, like, daily, day in, day out, I'm doing like 14-hour days just on the daily. So when production comes with, you know, 10, 12-hour days, it's nothing to me.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I mean by creative endurance. Like, I'm on my feet all day. I'm thinking, I'm creative all day. And so just building up that stamina and the creative endurance, I think will get you a long ways. Yeah,
it's not even the physical aspect as well, because like, even if the day's not crazy physical, like, it's mentally draining because you're problem solving, you have to be creative. There's so many aspects to filmmaking, and especially like music videos, I feel like are some of the most, like, you know, just like run and gun, hectic shoots, especially when you start wanting to do bigger things. Like when you want to start, you know, like doing lighting and all these things, like instead of just running around with a gimbal, like I think once you start, like, you know, putting ideas into these music videos, I feel like that's when it becomes an actual project and you actually have to like start dealing with a lot of these issues. Yeah, I think like, and I think even in my beginning of my career, and I think, you know, going back to where we met, you know, like I was always trying to involve some sort of storytelling, you know, some sort of storytelling aspect into music videos. You know, I wanted to do something different for the Bay Area and the music video scenes, but you know, unfortunately, it doesn't work out every way you plan it. And I think moving to LA for me was a huge step in my journey. Yeah, definitely opened up a lot of opportunities and other doors for me. And as a creative, and it definitely made me realize that I could do this full time, you know. When did you kind of make that transition to full time? Was there a specific moment that you're like, all right, like I'm going to do this full time? Like, you know, cause like leaving a job, especially like a job in construction where, you know, you probably make decent money. Yeah, it was pretty decent. Yeah. Like, so, you know, when you're making really consistent, like safe money per se, you know, especially like when, you know, like, especially as like, younger generation, your parents are always just like, you know, they instill, like my parents, my parents are like, you need benefits, like all this stuff, and I'm just like, you know, you need consistent income. Yeah, so there's that, and it's true, but then there's give and takes with either or, you know, and it just really depends what you want. But yeah, what was kind of that moment where you kind of knew like, all right, like I'm gonna go all in? That moment of going all in probably came. I would probably say before I moved to LA, I was driving to LA for like 3 years. Yeah. Back and forth. I was doing the 1-day turnaround, drive down here at 6 a.m., get to set by like 9, 10 a.m., do the production, and then leave set at 10 p.m., get home by like 2 a.m. Mm-hmm. And it was like, that was pretty brutal, but then I started getting calls for, it was like Monday. And then I'd get a call for like Thursday, and normally I would just get a hotel for the night or Airbnb. This is like when Airbnb was starting, but that starts racking up, and it's costly, you know. So like I had to make the decision. Like, first of all, I have to
come out to LA. And second of all, I have to go full time in this. And so what I planned to do was work my last year or work my last few months at my job, save up as much as I can, and then move to LA. And now, my job at the time, I was working at Tesla, and it was all right. It was decent, pretty good job. But my creative career, I would say, started getting in the way of my actual job. Where I'm getting calls during the week and getting asked to come down to LA, and then I'm calling my boss like, "Hey, I ain't coming in."
Yeah,
I ain't coming in. And then that was that, and I did that too many times, obviously. And then that was kind of what led to me going full time, was getting relieved at Tesla, moving to LA, and taking that plunge fully.
Yeah, you kind of just got booked up enough where you're just like, you kind of had to do it.
Yeah. It was out of necessity, I would say. Again, for 3 years, I was coming back to LA, driving back and forth, doing that one day turnaround, and then again started getting booked.
Driving back for those of you who don't know, it's like a 5.5 hour, 6 hour drive.
Yeah,
there's just nothing in the middle of California.
I know. No, but we're going 95, 100 miles.
Yeah, you can make it quicker if you don't stop. But But so one thing as well, like what I noticed early in your career, like especially the first time, like I came on a set. I think it was probably like one of the first times I worked on set with like a Red. We filmed like this. It was like a Keek the Sneak, Raven Justice. Yeah. And that was a crazy shoot. But it was like, I think that was your Red, right?
That was I don't think that was my Red per se. That was a Red that someone had like offered me an opportunity to shoot with it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And I was like, shoot with the Red? And he's like, yeah, just shoot with the Red and book as many video projects as you can. So I was like, all right, bet. So I went on this whole marketing spree of shooting on the Red. I can tell you something about that project.
Yeah.
That was my first time shooting green screen.
Yeah.
Boy, I learned a lot.
Yeah, for sure. When you shoot your first green screen video, you learn every mistake when you're editing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was editing that. And that's what I get for, that's not what I get, but that's a learning situation.
What was it? Was it tungsten lighting?
It was tungsten lighting, spotlights, hard light sources on the green screen.
Yeah. And then tungsten lighting, I forget what the issue is with tungsten lighting on. Is there anything specific, or if you change your white balance, it's fine, right?
Yeah, I feel like if you just change your white balance, you'd be fine on the green screen.
And you're on the Red too, so you can change the white balance.
But we were shooting hard light sources.
Yeah, it was the hard light sources. So the shooting it like a cyc wall base, like a white cyc, but like as a green screen. So they're just like crazy shadows.
Yeah. So in the edit, when I'm trying to chroma key stuff out, it's like
it's just
I could see a shadow. Yeah, like a shadow, and I'm like trying to get that out, and then it's a can of worms at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and the biggest things I learned with like green screen is like crank up your shutter. Like your like don't get motion blur. Like motion blur is the worst.
Yeah,
and then
crispy.
Yeah, you could add. There's plugins to put motion blur back in, and then like hair light. Like, a hair light's always a good thing to like separate. Yeah, even I heard if you do like a little magenta hair light, it's the opposite color of green. Yeah, so it helps with the key.
Nice.
But yeah. I don't know. I did a few green screen videos. I'm like, I'm not doing these anymore.
Yeah. You gotta clean light it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then like with Roto 3.0, that's pretty, I don't know if you've used that yet.
No.
But like it's insane. Like it's a lot better. Like it saves a lot of time with rotoscoping. But but when did you, what the point I was trying to get at there was, when did you start investing in gear? Because that's one thing that I've seen is you also run rentals out of improvised rentals. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when did you start really investing in gear? Because I remember seeing you on Share Grid a lot in the Bay around that transition period. I saw you coming down here shooting tons of music videos, but I also saw a ton of your gear, like your Asteras, like when Asteras first came out, and there was a lot of gear on there. So what was, when did you kind of realize that you wanted to start investing in like higher end gear?
Yeah, I think, I feel like I came to a realization that like I would hit up these people that had the gear.
Yeah.
And how do you either get ghosted or no response, or just a little bit of gatekeeping on the gear? And it's like I'm really out here trying to learn. I'm really out here trying to do something. If I can, help them out while learning the gear, I think it's a win-win. And I just didn't get too much of welcoming arms. So I was like, you know what? And I've always been like this, where if you're not going to give me an opportunity, then I'm going to make an opportunity. You know what I mean? That's super huge to me. And I got tired of asking people for gear.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to fucking get my own gear.
Yeah.
And gather and acquire as much gear and tools that I would use on my sets, or that I would want to use on my sets. And I wasn't going to let people gatekeep me out of gear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was kind of like, that's like the root of investing in the gears. I hated asking people for favors. That was super huge to me, to be able to pull out my own tools. Again, my background's construction. So, having the correct tools for the correct job has always been in my DNA.
Yeah. What do you think probably was like the best investment in gear that you did make? Like, what gear has just like continued to like either get rented out, or just you use every time on set, that you're just like, you're always bringing this out and you're like, that's got its money worth?
That's tough, because I really like my ecosystem, like the ecosystem that I've kind of just formulated. It's all based on efficiencies and deficiencies that I've encountered on other sets. And so to have, it's one thing to have a piece of equipment. I can't really nail one thing, because I'll use all of my equipment, and when I use it all is when it's most efficient, and it's when it's most seamless. So I can't really say one particular item. Yeah.
If you were going to give suggestions to someone who wants to start investing in themselves and like gear to start acquiring, I know that's a little bit general depending on what they want to do, but what are some starting places that you would say? Like, are there any tips? You know what I mean? Like, how much to spend, like what tier level, you know what I mean? Because sometimes it can be intimidating to spend your first, like even $1,000 at first is scary.
Kat, I'll tell you my first story about my first cinema camera, which was that I actually purchased brand new. Didn't buy it used. Bought everything new. It was a red Epic. It was the first time 8K was coming out. Yeah. And I was like, and this is the ecosystem with Red. I was like, I'm going to get a Raven first. I deposited my money.
That's a 4.5K.
Right, 4.5K. Yeah. They're like, hey, we have a Scarlet coming out. Do you want that? It's only an extra 10 grand or whatever, right? And I was like, sure, yeah, let's do that. It's 5K. And it's probably better. Yeah. I pay up the balance on that. By the time I pay up the balance on that, the Epic 8K is coming for release. And they're like, do you want to upgrade to that? And I was like, well, how much more is the 8K? And they're like, like another 20 grand. And I was like, okay, well, might as well do that. If that's the newest camera, let's do that. Yeah. So I do that, and then I pay off the balance, and they ship me the camera. Yeah. I get it. I open it up. It's just the brain. I just spent like 30 something grand on this camera brain. I called them up. I'm like, hey, is there anything else like that comes with this? Like, how do I turn this on? They're like, well, it's a modular camera. You have to buy the modular pieces. And I was like, okay. Yeah. Well, how much are the modular pieces? And then they sent me a quote. It was like another 20 grand. And I'm like, dude, how do you guys? So anyways, like that was like my first experience dealing with the cinema side of stuff. Yeah. Some tips and tricks to leverage or acquire more gear. First, know the gear that you want. I spent a lot of time in research, like looking at videos, looking at reviews, looking at what people were using the equipment for. I was looking up how would I use it, and seeing if people have done that before, and really checking like the used gear market. That's kind of where most of my gear was coming from before I got that Red. I was buying used gear shooting on it and reselling it for the same price.
Yeah.
And I'd get my money back. And I was like, okay, cool. This is like a nice little flip that I was doing. Because
Yeah.
I'm able to generate some money off of the content. And then I can just sell the equipment when I'm done using it, as long as I keep it in pristine condition.
Yeah.
Which I did. I kept all my original boxes, put them back in, and put it on eBay like new, you know? And people were buying it. And so I found that process it benefited me in the fact that I can get the tools I want. If I don't like the tool, then I'll sell it. And at the same time, if I did like it, then I would just rent it out to other people that may need it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like also, like, if you can get hands-on experience, like with a camera or anything beforehand, whether that's renting on ShareGrid or hitting someone up who owns one, or even just seeing it on set, you know what I mean? I feel like that makes the biggest difference before.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, because I feel like, if you had the hands-on experience that you did with the Red 8K, would you have gotten it, or would you have? Are you happy with that decision, or you feel like you got finessed by Red a little bit?
No, I don't think I got finessed by Red. Back then, I didn't think that. You know, a lot of people I told and asked their advice on getting a cinema camera. I tell them the cost, like $30,000. They're like, dude, that's a house payment. You have kids. Why don't you go buy a house? And I was like, well, I have a career too, and this is gonna take my career to a whole new level, which kind of did, in a sense. I'm not gonna say everything's for me. Not everything revolves around the tools, but having the knowledge how to use the tools, I think that's what's key. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. So there's one story I wanted you to tell. It happened a while ago. It was that drone incident. Yeah.
I didn't know you were going to bring that one up.
Yeah, I remember that, man. If you want to talk about it. If not, we could cut it out too. It's up to you. I don't know.
I would say safety in training. When it comes to the cinema industry world, I feel like and again, that incident that sparked a whole new ideology in my career, and which was safety and training.
Yeah.
And so providing those workshops.
Feel like people don't really take serious. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
So especially just in this, they're like, oh, you just film, like it's fine, but we're dealing with heavy stuff.
Yeah. I feel like, again, when we get to a certain level in our industry, there's big toys that are not toys. What we went through was just one of those, again, another learning lesson of these industry this industry equipment isn't toys. You know what I mean? But I can tell you that we were resilient in that project. I almost lost 2 fingers in my hand, and probably almost could have damaged my face from the propellers. What had happened was we were given a camera package that was fully built. I had told production we needed the camera package naked so we can just do a swap real quick, easily. They gave it to us fully built, so it definitely took us some time to strip it down, add on our parts, and then get it up and running. And during that time, the batteries were sitting out in the cold. So that for that hour of swapping pieces, batteries were sitting out in the cold. That's one of the things that when it comes to extreme environments that most people aren't really training for, because unless you're going out there. But you don't expect some of these things, like your batteries to lock up from being out in the cold.
Yeah.
Or even just other extreme conditions, being in the dust or something. But yeah, I mean, that drone job, our batteries locked up, and the drone tried to return home, and it was flying in drunk, and we all looked at each other as the drone team were like, we gotta go catch it.
Yeah.
So we ran over. As soon as we tried to catch it, the drone probably wanted to level itself out.
Yeah.
So it kind of ticked or it adjusted aggressively to a point where the propellers had sliced my fingers,
Yeah.
I don't think I ever showed you.
I saw the photos. I think you texted me a long time ago. That's why I brought it up, because you're like, oh, come on the podcast and talk about this. So that's crazy. I mean, I think it's definitely important to, like, for people to just, like, you know what I mean, learn from those, like, you know, hear about these stories that, like, things that can happen in it. You know what I mean? I'm sure, like, since then, working on sets, I'm sure, like, safety has been a big concern.
Yeah, safety is huge. I mean, even when we're just going out practicing and training with this equipment, it's like super huge. I'll give you another close call. We were doing some motorcycle stuff, filming out in Angel's Crest. This is in LA.
Yeah. I think I remember this. Yeah.
And we were filming some random guys that we met while doing some black arm stuff with our pursuit truck. And we had set a date to go film them, so we go out and film. Some time took to set up the car, which is fine. But now these guys are kind of antsy now, you know, because they want to go riding.
Yeah.
So we go up in the mountains, we drive around, we film a couple things. We pull over because we want to get the drone up and capture some aerial stuff. So we're setting up for the drone stuff. These guys are like, hey, we're just gonna check out further down the road and make sure it's all clear. We're like, all right, cool, we're gonna set up. And then, like 2 minutes later, one of the riders comes back and he's like, hey, call 911. We're like, why? Like, what's going on? Like, he just fell. He's hurt real bad. We're like, fell? What do you mean? You guys just left. So he had accidentally left his kickstand down. So when he went to bank on that on the first turn, he flipped his bike. His bike rolled down the mountain, down Angel's Crest Mountain, like 25, 35 feet. He was like 3 or 4 feet away from the rolling over. And so again, that's why there's professionals, and it's another learning lesson. Like, you know, get qualified people.
Yeah.
Get qualified people. There's a reason why people are trained to do this stuff.
Like, imagine if that would have happened while you were filming with the, you know, pursuit vehicle. Like, it could have been I mean, the camera involved and everything. Like,
even when it comes down to our equipment too, you know, from tethering it to you know, all of our safety stuff. Because, like, if I got a pack of motorcycle riders are falling behind us and that camera falls off or the gimbal comes loose, and we've all seen those videos.
Those videos are crazy.
But imagine a video coming off and bikers are falling behind you. It's not a good look. But that's kind of, again, why
he's all good though.
He's all good. I mean, he was, when we met him, the funny thing is, when we met him, he was like telling us about his airbag safety vest.
Oh yeah, did it work?
It ended up, I mean, it worked, and it saved his life.
Yeah, okay,
but
sick.
He was telling us, like, when we first met him, he was like, I haven't used this, or I've never had a need for this, and my 10 years of riding, and I don't know why I still wear it. And then that happens, and it's like, well, that's why
you wear it. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
If you're a photographer or filmmaker, you should definitely check out CinePacks lens filters. We have lens filters for photographers and filmmakers that offer unique in-camera effects. We have soft filters to give your photos that nice cinematic glow, as well as in-camera effects filters that can really level up your shot. Use promo code LENS15 at checkout and you're going to get 15% off your lens filter order. Now back to the episode. So fast forward a little bit. You're out in LA now, and you have your rentals, and you have the Cinema Junkies, and we've worked on some projects with you. We hosted your robot, like you've been doing virtual productions with the robot. You've also been on set of like tons of big music videos using the crane. So what was that kind of transition like, where everything just started ramping up, you know, like investing in this robot, the scissor crane, like how did that all come about?
I think all the specialty like systems that we have is like really just a culmination of my things that I like to do, or that I would like to have on my sets or in my projects. And I think just you know, the repetition on those things, on the systems, have really led me to where I'm at right now. People know me for a crane operator. Some people know me for robot operator. Some people know me for just, pursuit vehicle stuff. And I think that's what's kind of allowed me to survive out here in LA is getting booked for these different things that, people may know me by. I'll even mention to the same people that, hey, I also do this, or we can do this and that. But they'll still only call me for one thing. That's one thing really big that I noticed in LA is that when people will call you, they'll only call you for that thing that they first called you for. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's for everyone else or if that's for you, but, most people that call me the first time, they'll only call me for that thing the first time.
That's interesting. Yeah, I guess it's because it's what they associate with you. You know what I mean? But I also noticed this even just doing music videos, the type of music video you make. So if you go film a hood video and you go film in the hood and people have guns pointed at you, you're only going to get hood videos after that. Yeah. Whatever you want to shoot, you have to shoot. Yeah. Like the type of projects you shoot are the type of projects you're going to get. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, totally, because that's what you're putting out into the world. That's what people are going to see. And that's what I've noticed the most is like, shoot what you want to shoot. You know what I mean? Like, or just don't promote it. Like if you went and filmed like a hood video with your scissor lift and like, you got like some rapper standing on a car in like a bad area, like maybe don't post that one, if you don't want to do that, unless if you do, I
think that's like having that, your understanding your brand and who you're trying to target. Is super important. I remember those hood videos, and they are definitely what I aim not to do these days.
Was there a specific hood video that like any experiences? I feel like as music video directors, especially in the Bay, we all have one of those where we're just like, all right, never again.
I would say that there's a few scenarios. Have you seen that one project You Shoot Videos?
No.
It's a good little short film. It really relates to our music.
I think I kind of remember that.
From Cooper Films, Morgan Cooper. He now does Peacock. He's shooting Bel Air.
I think I did see. I think I may have saw that.
Yeah, it's a great project, dude. I actually met him in LA. One of my, I don't know, one of those moments, man. His project meant so much to me because I felt like that was the life I lived. Was that, And if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Check it out.
Did you see the one Adam and Sebastian? They just had their film festival in the Bay. Did you see that? They had CinePacks sponsored it. It was called the Cadence Music Video Fest. So they hosted a festival for like all music video directors all over, but it was like hosted in the Bay Area. Okay. And it was sick. Like there was actually like really sick Bay Area music videos. It was cool seeing all the talent. Yeah. And then, but their skit in the beginning, they just dropped it, and it's like a music video director, like, because Adam's just like, he's like some white kid who like films a bunch of videos in Oakland all the time. Have you ever met Adam KG or no?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, he's like one of the top.
Is he young?
Yeah, he's like young. He's like 20 something. He's just like one of the top Bay Area music video run and gun shooters. But he's just like he balances the line of like cinematic with like run and gun. Yeah. Which is like, I feel like is bad for rappers because they just like get so accustomed. They get spoiled with that. You know what I mean? Because he gives them such good quality. But the skit basically is like him talking to his therapist about like shooting music videos. Mm-hmm. And then there's just like flashbacks of like scenarios that we've all encountered, like the artist, like, you're filming, the Bluetooth speaker dies. You got 5 guns pointed at you. Like, just. Or
what about when they say they have no budget and then they're flashing money. Yeah, they come with these bags. I just went shopping and that's why I'm late. It's like
they come with the Nordstrom bags and you're just that makes you feel like so devalued as as a creative. Like I just spent like even just like when I remember doing music videos, just like spending like 3 hours like packing everything, making sure I have everything, going through everything, and I'm just like. And then getting there, and then you know what I mean. Just
you're like doing your best. You're going. You might even spend your own money on your gas, maybe or something, because your rate's already tied up with other shit. But like, dude, I just remember really going out for these artists, and then
And I don't think that's just in the Bay. I think that's music videos everywhere.
I think that's
that's just beginning everywhere.
I think that's any local music scene to me is going to be like that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But again, that's where you go and make your connections, you make your network.
Yeah, you have to have fun with it too. You can't just be complaining all the whole time. Like obviously, like I was doing that because I like doing that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I was too.
And then you get to a point where you're like, I don't want to do
that no more. Yeah,
exactly.
I don't want to do this no more, and I want to do big shit.
Yeah, exactly. So the robot arm.
Yes.
For those people who don't know, like, what are some of the benefits of using a motion capture robot arm? Talk a little bit about the robot arm you use. I feel like most people's knowledge of a robot arm is that Kendrick Lamar shot that everyone's seen of the robot arm. I feel like that, and then that's the only one I could really think of.
Yeah, to me, I think I first saw robots in like 2017 at NAB and went out to Vegas. I see my guy Rick. He let me stay at his house. One of my mentors that I consider, but like a big brother. But going out there to see NAB and seeing the robots, and I was working from Tesla, so I was like already keen to the robots. But then I'd seen people put cameras on the ends of robots. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I want one. And I really, really want one because I feel like that's where filmmaking is going. So I think I had reached out to these other companies. They didn't respond. They didn't really get any response to me about wanting to train with it and learn and all that. And then I came across Sisu, and I was like, this looks like a cool company. And I'd reached out to them, and in 2019 they were doing like a program to get robots in the hands of filmmakers. Yeah. I didn't make that cut, but they had emailed me and they were like, hey, we love your work. Yeah. I was doing like a lot of my product work in the garage. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people start is their garage. Yeah. Yep. And just like dialing in my lighting and all that stuff in the garage. Yeah. And the one thing that kind of held back me acquiring a robot earlier was the fact I was working out of a garage. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They're like, well, it doesn't really make sense to be in a garage, you know? And so they're like, if you were in LA, it'd be a totally different story. So that's why I was like, fuck, I just need to be in LA. Yeah. And so that was when I really made the transition to LA was after talking with Sisu and then going through the 3 years of driving back and forth and then actually moving to LA. And when I got to LA, I think you guys had your grand opening here at CinePacks. Yeah. And I already got I think I had already been approved for a robot for like a couple months, and I was like looking for a home to like house this robot. Because at the end of the day, I told myself I'm gonna get a robot. Yeah. I don't know how I'm gonna pay for it, but I'm gonna get a robot. Yeah. And that was just like one of my mental, like, I don't know, man. I still don't know how I have a robot to this day. That's pretty crazy. It's kind of crazy. Because I always told myself I literally told myself I would do anything to get a robot. Yeah. Like I would work my ass off. And I do to this day. Yeah, no, that's definitely why I want to have you on the podcast too. It's just the amount of hustle, like no matter what, you know what I mean? Even just like these like challenges, that's like why I brought up, you know, like the drone incident and just all these other things, like just like the consistency of like failing. It doesn't matter, like, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter like if, you know what I mean? Like you drop a project and, oh, maybe that one looks bad or whatever, but it's just the consistency of just moving forward every time and just learning from those mistakes. And I feel like that's one thing that I've seen you do is just constantly trying things, you know what I mean? And growing. Word. And like one of the first things that like I feel like was one of the things that helped blow our studio up and, like help your company as well is like we did these collabs with Aperture and we had like a horrible budget. Like we're like, we basically just they gave us a small budget and we put everything back into it. Yeah. But we went over budget. Like, and then you came out for free that day and like we hit you up and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to do it. And then we're like, okay. And then you're like, all right, I'll come out. And then you came out and then I think we were just going to do tripod and handheld that day. Yeah. But like
the amount of the amount of production value the crane added. Like you came with what's it called, and we filmed all these split screens. So our intention was to just film split screens, and everyone. And the craziest thing, these clips went viral. Like all these clips, like at least have done numbers. Like not even on our pages, on other filmmaking pages, they've been reposted like everywhere. Yeah, it's been insane. And it's cool to see that. And like we get comments like, "Oh, what movie is this from?" And it's like, no, it was just practice. You know what I mean? Like we were learning how to use the wall. We were. You know what I mean? It was really just and we literally crammed like 5 or 6 shots in a day, and we filmed all these. Can we pull up some of those shots, Josh?
Yeah. Hey, and I think that says a lot. Yeah. That these are test shots, and people are asking what the name of the movie is.
No, exactly.
I'll tell people it's like The Fall or whatever it is. You know?
A different name each time. So we would just try different things and see like ways that we could utilize. You know, like all the technology that we have, like whether it's like aperture, like changing the color of the lights in this scene. And then we did the gag, like where we brought in different props. And then like with you being able to just punch in as close as you can with the crane. Like it was, yeah.
Dude, I absolutely love all the content we've done and created. We've just grown so much. Yeah. And to think about that, this was 2 years ago.
No, it's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like, how's things for you guys? Like, since we've done this content, how's things for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, this content alone, like, has really just helped us. Like, I mean, we've had, clients and whatnot, like, reach out and just be like, hey, like, we saw this. Like, I want to create that. I feel like that has just been, like, one of the biggest things. Like, the biggest investments. Like, versus, like, one thing we haven't done is we haven't ran any ads for the studio.
Yeah.
Word of mouth. It's just all word of mouth. And it's just like, like working, like big shout out to Aperture. They were the first people to actually book they made a video on our virtual production studio. I think even before we had a virtual production done. It was very early on. Like we haven't had that many virtual productions, and like that YouTube video alone just like really like helped establish our studio. And it's been it's been crazy. But yeah, I feel like just investing in your, you know what I mean? Like just reinvesting into like those, videos and like just proving like what you can do and just shooting test shoots, I feel like is one of the biggest things.
How important is the content, do you think? Like I've noticed how impactful the content is. Yeah. I was telling my fiance runs the marketing for Cinema Junkies. Yeah. She's been doing a lot of digital marketing and stuff, and she's been applying a lot of her strategies to it. And so we've kind of coupled the content with the strategy, and we've just seen so much, results. Yeah, no, it's insane because we just had the podcast. We just had a couple of YouTube clips go viral too, and it's just insane, especially like with Instagram right now. I just had La Capture on. She's a content creator. And we're just talking about like Instagram's kind of like the main place to grow right now. Like Instagram and YouTube Shorts. Yeah. But like TikTok is kind of in like a different state right now. It's not where it was, but it's just kind of staying up on those trends and then just like also knowing what content does well, But that's virtual production content does super well.
Yeah, and it's tough too because like I feel like it's a double-edged sword in a sense because you're gonna get like we have that one of the dragon, right? I reposted that one recently. Yeah. It went pretty viral again, but it's just funny because like everyone's like it was like we said, we knocked these out within like 2 or 3 hours, and we have so many moving pieces. Like we're doing stunts, we're changing the lighting setups on the go.
We're changing the look.
We're changing the whole look. Yeah. We're changing the map. Josh is animating a dragon as we go. Josh is yelling at everyone. It's chaotic, but like we're just trying to see how many scenes we can get in one day, like just to exercise those creative muscles. Mm-hmm. And the comments are crazy. Like people are like, dragons aren't real. Like this is horrible. You could see the shadow. Like just everything. You know what I mean? And like people who have no film experience, and that's the internet. People can say whatever they want, and it's fine. But it's why I say it's a double-edged sword is because like they can
tear it down.
Yeah, they could tear it down, but that's also engagement. Yeah, you know what I mean. So I feel like there's if there's some people who resonate with it and they're like, oh, this is sick, I'm gonna follow, then that's a win. But
I feel like a majority rules in that sense.
Because if it's really bad, you don't want to like keep dropping that. You know what I mean? Like if it's all hate.
Yeah.
But I feel like most of the time it's like 50-50. And even if it's 40-60, like it still doesn't matter.
My favorite thing is when other people come to the rescue.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they're standing up for you. It's like you don't even know them, but they're standing up for the work that you created and or that you helped create, you know, and I've always found that interesting too. And I mean, I take it as a grain of salt, you know. If you, my man T.I. says, if you live by the hurrahs, you'll die by the booze. You know what I mean? That's a great quote from him. And I for me, I just take it for a grain of salt. Like again, and I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing because I also will beat myself up really bad over stuff. You know what I mean? Not because other people say it, but because I know I could do better.
Yeah, and that's tough. Like there was the one that we recently dropped, and we had no clue this was gonna go viral. Like some ones you're kind of like, all right, like this is sick, like this is, you know. But we did the driving plate one with our wild balls. Yeah, and so I had the theory. I was like, oh, like I can film the footage on my Insta360 because I got the new Insta360. So I was like, let's just see if it works, because then like I would only have to do 2 angles, like the front and then the back. Which wasn't the case. Like it, like I had I had it on auto. I didn't even change the shutter or anything. I was like, it'll be fine. And you really can't get like a good, like there's no indies on it.
So was it, the clip was it 360?
It was 360, yeah. And I literally spun around and I like exported.
I couldn't tell. I thought that was a regular camera.
Yeah, everyone thought. I mean, the shutter was crazy, like cranked, and it was a little overexposed. But like, it was just a quick test. Like we literally just want to test to see if we get reflections, and then. So that was just like a huge pouring of comments of like, this looks horrible. This is, why is there no wind on his hair? And like just all the comments, like, so, you know, like it's fine. Like it was a test. Like we weren't mad, like, and it got us a ton of engagement. So, I mean,
for the good, right?
Yeah, for sure. And like one of the ones that I think on your page has a crazy amount of views is the rock climbing one we did.
Yeah. That one's wild.
Yeah.
Again, like I remember specifically how this played out. I asked you and Andy, I said, hey, do you guys have that content we did? And then you guys like, sure. You guys sent us a file. So we took all that content and we kind of just fitted it into our schedule along with all the other content we were doing. Yeah. And there was nothing like special we did. We just were putting it out and just
I think it was also just reels at the time, and the content just didn't get around because like we had to do collabs with Aperture for these posts. Yeah. And that one specifically was posted as a post. So we don't even have the reel sound under CinePacks.
Oh, yeah. That happened to us, too.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's whatever. But, like, it was, But, I mean, that shot alone, like, we gave it, like, I remember, like, everyone was tired. Like, it was, like, so many tries, and we kept trying things, and the wall kept messing up. But it's crazy, like, how big of a video that became. Because like, it got tons of views on ours. It's probably over, like, 100 million views. Or, like, even more.
For... just in total?
No, I mean just in total from like all of them online because like there's so many pages that have reposted it.
Yeah. Why do you think they why do you think that specific one? What do you think? Is it the sound design?
I forget. I feel like I even like I did the sound design on that one, which is funny, but like I don't know. I feel like it's a combination of it. Like it's interesting. Mm-hmm. Like the profile shot is the best shot. Yeah. Like that one actually looks really good. Her falling is a little bit corny. Yeah. But it's, you know what I mean? And like, I don't know.
It does a trick though. We can't take away from that because doing that in real life is so dangerous.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Like we just did that in the studio.
Yeah. And it was like, and the crazy thing is like, it literally got so popular that Sisu actually used it. They took the idea and then they were going to have Josh do the map.
Oh,
but they did like the rock climbing version of it. So we basically started like this trend of like, I don't know, just from our viral clip, which was kind of cool. But yeah, I don't know what made it so viral. I mean, I think it's, I don't know. It's just like, I think it's also seeing the behind the scenes, you know? I think like just that split screen formula.
We've been dropping split screen formulas and
I think it's like the fact that she's like laying on the floor though, and like we're trying, but which is funny too because people are like, oh, like you can see this and that, but it's because you're cross analyzing. Like, I'm like, if I would have just posted this regular clip, one, it wouldn't have done well.
Yeah.
But two, you wouldn't have noticed all these things.
Do you know how many people told us that they don't want to see the BTS? Because they're like, you're ruining my movie moment.
Yeah.
My immersiveness, whatever, right? And it's like,
yeah.
Well, if you put your hand on the bottom half.
Yeah, you don't have to watch it. Like, you know. But like it's true though. Like if we just posted that top clip, like people would be like, oh, this is a bad short film. Or like, you know what I mean? Like this is like, why is this clip like, you know, like, okay, cool. Like this is a clip from a movie that I've never seen. Like what's the point?
Another thing too that I noticed too is like, they're like, about that rock climbing one, they're like, people are like, oh, the water's not moving. I was like, did you ever think that maybe it's snow?
Yeah.
They're like, well, why do you have to explain it? It's like, well.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what other ones did we do? Yeah, we did
a lot, dude.
We did a lot. Yeah. I think the first day we knocked out like 5 or 6. The astronaut one, that was one like where like me and Andy,
one of my favorite ones.
Me and Andy were literally, I wish we could have spent a little more time on it because like there were like some framing issues. Like we almost should just do it again because it'd be so much better. But like I remember the like me and Andy afterwards were like, bro, if Cassius didn't pull up with the scissor crane, like we would have been cooked. Like because like in space, like you need those slow fluid movements. Like that's like if you watch like Gravity or whatever, you know, like whenever they're like in space, like it's always just like the slow push, and like space is very slow and like, you know what I mean, cinematic, and like we would have had to film it handheld or something, you know what I mean, so it wouldn't have worked. So like that was one like where like the crane, and like also like I think that was one thing where you're like, oh, how beneficial was this content? Like even like I think the other thing that like I think it was like a perfect storm is Armando pulled up. Mondo Bites on YouTube. And he made a video about our virtual production at the same time.
I remember that,
yeah. So that was super sick at the same time because he like, you know, like he's a pretty established YouTuber and like, yeah. So it was just a lot of everything at once and it just kind of all came together.
Yeah, man. And we got to go run it back.
No, for sure, yeah.
I think we should do some upgraded VP versions or even take ones that we've done and like flip them and maybe come back with some sequels. Yeah. I've been telling you and Andy that I wanted to do the first man to step on the moon type of scene.
Oh, yeah, that would be pretty sick.
Yeah, so maybe we'll run it back.
Yeah, that would be sick. Yeah, Alan would go crazy with that. But yeah, what do you got coming? What can we look forward to from the Cinema Junkies Improvised Productions? I know you've been really rocking with the events lately. I've seen you guys have been at our events.
Mm-hmm.
If people have been to CinePacks events, I think you were just here for an event. What's kind of being what's planned for the rest of the year and next year?
What's planned for the rest of the year is to continue showing up. We got this momentum on social media. Like I was telling my fiance, like, how do we take advantage of all this momentum? Like, it's been crazy. I'm not gonna lie, dude. The momentum on social media right now has been like, I don't know, 1,000 people a day or something like that for the past 2 months, maybe.
Following you?
Just following likes, and it's like I honestly don't even keep up with the company page. She does a great job of doing that. But with that happening, has also helped my own personal portfolio, my own personal Instagram blow up too. And I'm like, oh wow, okay. So we're just understanding the dynamics of social media. But in terms of what we have coming up, we have, you know, we, like I said, show up every day. We show up every day. Someone has an idea or someone has a project, you know, it's definitely a discussion that we can have. But these opportunities, you know, like I think a couple days ago we just happened to but we helped Justin Jones host the Hollyland workshop mixer, and we were able to provide some information, education on the cinema robot, which is, again, amazing system. If it's at CinePacks right now, so if, you know, anyone wants to come check it out, feel free to hit up Tyler or Andy and schedule a demo on it. We'd love to share the system. To be honest, I'm not trying to gatekeep at all. Like and if you know, budgets are challenging, the cool thing is I own the robot, so I'm very flexible with numbers, especially if it's a great idea, we can make it work. But there's some hard costs to it. But yeah, coming for the next year coming up, we are just again showing up to these events, just showing up and putting the brand in front of people. We don't know what kind of impact long term that does, but I can tell you that, like you said, the consistency of us just showing up every day, whenever we can, kind of like is like a key factor in this journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like opportunities that come involved. Like, yeah, you might show up for free, but you might shake hands with someone that's going to pay you or hire you or believe in you, just from you saying yes. I know we always talk about the power of no. I think that's super huge. It's always good.
When you can get to that point, but at the same time, like, there's opportunity, you know what I mean? And if you get stuck in, I feel like it's easy to get stuck in that. Once you kind of get a little bit of momentum and you can start saying no, I feel like you can, I've even done this, like you almost need to just like kind of remember where you started and why you're doing this. And you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's okay to say no, like if it's for your, mental health, or if you're just like, hey, I really don't want to do that anymore, like that's fine. But I think you really just need to like realize why you're saying no, because like there, like you said, like opportunity and just like showing up to certain places and just like, continuing to come out and do things, it can, you never know where it's going to lead. Absolutely.
And like, I'll, for everyone, I'll give my formula. This is not something I came up with. This is something I've used that's been passed down from another mentor that I consider, Ed. Ed. We did the Space Acacia commercial, which we did 4 different environments in one day. And these environments, typically you'd have to wait like all year to shoot in the snow, or you'd have to fly the crew to the snow, or you fly to the desert or wait for the desert.
Yeah, and this makes me think of like that comment, like we always get like, why don't they film it in like the actual snow, or like go to the forest, or like go outside, which is like, like certain productions you can, but like to travel all those people there to get, lighting and everything out there, like, and just like that commercial you're specifically talking about, like it's like extreme weather the point of the commercial is extreme weather conditions. Exactly. And it's like all right, like let's go film an 4 extreme, like from the snow to like inside to what's it called, and that would have upped the budget to an
for sure. It would have took their budget to astronomical numbers. But I mean even the Mandalorian one. Yeah, it's like the one we did with the robot and the virtual production. I thought was super cool. I always am like blown away by virtual production and Moco. And we had people saying, "Well, why is there 2 moons?" And it's like, did you watch the show? There's 2 moons in the show. Like, I was like, why didn't they go to that? Why do they have to film it in a studio? It's like, well, we can't go to outer space and go to this foreign planet and film there. Sorry. Yeah. That would take your budget astronomical.
Yeah, exactly. And also just like, it's just another tool. Like obviously you can still film outside. Like there's pickups you can do on virtual production. Yep. It's just another tool, and those were actually some of my favorite shots, like that Mandalorian. I recut the CinePacks virtual production reel, and those shots are just so they're just so iconic, like the Mandalorian. But
how many people ask us, what season is this from?
Bro, yeah.
Or is this season 4?
Yeah, and that's the tricky thing about doing spoof stuff, I feel like. Yeah. It's hard because like I just had the which we shot around the same time of the rock climbing clip. We did the Last of Us stuff.
Oh yeah, okay.
And now that's blowing up. Like it's just 1.5 million views on YouTube Shorts right now. And everyone thinks it's real, and they're like just like hating about it. They're going crazy talking about the game. And it kind of like tears me in 2 directions, because like you'll get followers and stuff from that, but I don't think we're attracting the right audience. We're getting like a more general audience who's like about like the game and like the show, like just people who like the show and like zombies, you know, and that's not the kind of audience like I want for the CinePacks YouTube channel, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine if they want to follow, but they're not going to enjoy the rest of the podcast and everything else we drop, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like you have to be mindful in that sense, because like even like with Mandalorian content, like it's sick, but then there's also like a whole fan base that comes along with it.
For
that's
sure.
going to like come at your throat. So, but at the same time, that can help blow it up. So you know what I mean? There's a balance to that. And like, you just have to be careful. You don't want to like become the Mandalorian guy, unless that's what you want to do. If you only want to make, you know, fan made content, you could do that. But like, I just feel like that's like a fine line to
nailing it, and not disrespecting it, you know, their art and the original creators. But real quick, just to jump back, bro, the formula I like to use for when building and networking for opportunity, right? And again, this is coming from, I heard this first from Ed. He's a commercial director who helped us do the space education one. The formula that we use, or that I like to use now, is the 3 R's, right? The 3 R's are revenue, right? You do it for the revenue.
Mm-hmm.
The second R is you do it for the real, right? Your portfolio. The third R is you do it for the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And out of those 3 things, you got to hit 2.
Yeah.
If you can hit 2, then you'll probably be in good hands on that project. So not everything has to revolve around money. Not everything has to revolve around your reel. But if you can hit 2 things out of those 3 R's, typically you'll probably be in a good position, and you'll probably hit 3. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah. And there are instances even like where you can't hit all, you know what I mean? Hit all 3. I've had projects, but yeah, I've definitely, I've heard it called something else. I forget specifically what it is, but I like R's better because it's a little easier to remember. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, I definitely think like, especially starting out, like I feel like you could definitely hit everything but revenue. You know what I mean? Because you have no reel. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if you hit someone up to be on like set or help you out, relationship you know what I mean? And you get it every time starting out because you're building a reel. So I feel like early on and like, yeah.
Eventually you get the revenue.
Yeah, eventually you get the revenue. It takes a while, but sick. Hey, real quick. Didn't know if you knew this, but CinePacks actually has 3 studio locations in Los Angeles. If you're a filmmaker, photographer, and you're looking for a studio space, look no further. CinePacks is here. We have one location in South LA that has multiple music video sets, has a small LED wall. We have an entire vintage house in East Hollywood. We have a large LED wall studio in North Hollywood as well, with tons of standing sets. You can check out the studios at cinepackstudios.com or check us out on Instagram at CinePacks Studios. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Yeah. That's what I want to ask. So what's kind of the route that you're taking right now? Like, I saw your bio says director, DP. You're obviously an operator, you know, you operate the robot, you operate, the, you know, like the scissor crane, and also the pursuit vehicle. What kind of role are you specifically going to? Is there one that you want to lean into more? I've seen you've done some sick music videos recently. Like I saw you on set with the robot arm with Snoop Dogg and some other big artists. I've seen you do crane on tons of other big projects, you know, even recently. So
yeah, I mean, like, here's how I like to break down my creative skill set. Like I like to say that I'm a director, producer, and DP. And all those 3 things satisfy me in different ways. So directing, when I'm really in charge of the creative, that solves or satisfies me creatively. When I'm doing producer stuff, I really like enjoying helping production and helping the director execute on their vision. And so that solves business and logistics for me and satisfy me that way. And then being a DP, because I've operated so many times. I don't like just being the operator anymore. I like to have more control of the creative and budget, and be able to add some of my aesthetics and some of my filmmaking solutions to the mix. So DP will solve the technical aspect for me, or satisfy the technical aspect. So there's 3 aspects I like to get satisfied from this industry by, and that's the creative and the business and technical. So I can't do all 3. It's really a brain mush at that point, but most of the time for each project, I'll do 2 out of 3.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Okay. And then, do you still have a team that works with the Cinema Junkies? Do you have like other like operators and like people, like a team that you work with?
Yeah, we have. We're always looking for new creatives and dedicated creatives, committed creatives that we can help train and enhance their career. We did have a nice team before the strikes, but the strikes did its number on us, and we've kind of been slimmed down to like, just our bare bones probably, and we're building back up, getting new team members, new team players, and building our whole system around these players.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing that I've noticed too, is like I'll even just see you like practicing with gear, you know what I mean? Especially when you get new gear and just like letting people get hands-on experience. I've seen you do that, and not gatekeep gear like you were talking about, and just getting people hands-on experience with gear that's like really unobtainable for a lot of people. Man,
I mean, if I had known someone like myself, I'd probably be a lot further in my career, to be honest. You know what I mean? But sometimes you have to be that person that can help other creators, and I'm fortunate enough to not feel like I have to gatekeep, because I have all these other skill sets. I don't depend on just one. And that, again, maybe is a good or bad thing for some others, but for me, I'd like it's chaos. But I thrive in chaos, and I absolutely love solving chaos.
I like that you say you have multiple skill sets, because that's one thing I've noticed too, is like you can operate a motion capture robot as well as a scissor crane, as well as these pursuit vehicles and everything like that. What one thing we didn't touch on the robot is like, what is the purpose? Like, what is motion control? Like, even like with a robot, like what does that even mean?
Yeah, I feel like motion control is just the control of motion through self-explanatory.
Yeah, no, for sure. But like I guess my question is like, what are the benefits of motion control? Like, why use a robot? Like, what is the point of being able to control that motion and the repeatability of a robot?
I mean, for motion control, you get obviously control of motion, right? And what I like about it is that if you're doing something choreographed or coordinated, you can go anywhere into your sequence and pick up where you left off. So if it's someone fighting or something, and you have a motion control sequence, you can pick up essentially wherever you need to, and you can do a invisible cut or whatnot. But some use cases for motion control, we do like glam and multi-pass sequences. A lot of glam bot stuff that we've done here at CinePacks. We've done at a lot of other events as well. But like multi-pass sequence, where maybe it's different flavors. So then that way you do the same pass with each product or item. And if it's a different flavor, then you can just play the whole sequence seamlessly and switch out your flavors. Yeah,
and jump cut, but it's not an actual, you're just like nothing else in the scene is changing.
Yeah, exactly. Just the colors or the product packaging or whatnot. Cloning of people, places, or things in a seamless sequence. That's what we also use that for. Precise and accurate motion based on stunts, choreography, and blocking. So we've tried to use the robot not just in product shots and macro shots, right? We've done it in your vintage house. We did this little content piece of Stand Your Ground, and that was all shot 95% robot, which was cool because we got to choreograph everything. We actually got to pick up stuff. If you go watch, it's called Stand Your Ground. If you go watch it, we picked up like a lot of the sequence in the middle of the sequence. You know what I mean? Like if someone fell, then we like went back to the clip, played the clip, see where they fell, or see where they had fallen, and then place them back on, you know, based on the previous clip, and picked up like right from there, as opposed to doing it all over again from the top.
Yeah. I feel like, VFX is like a big one, you know, like there's that clip with, I think it's The Invisible Man.
Oh, yeah. That's what we talked about too. We want to do.
Yeah, like with the green screen and he's just like throwing her around. And then, and then it's a key, but then you have the same exact movement. So when you key it out, you have the same background. Yeah.
You just do a clean plate and then key out, you know, the
green. But you run the motion on the clean plate, because that's typically when you do a clean plate, for people who don't know, is, you know, you just do it typically on like, you know, DIY VFX. You do a tripod shot with a clean plate, no subject, and then you have your subject come in. So if you do any rotoscoping or anything like that, chroma key, you have the background.
Exactly.
But with the robot arm, you can get a clean plate because everything's repeatable. You can basically do it with your actors, and then you can do it without your actors, and now you have a clean plate with the exact same motion with the movement, the focal length change, everything, because you can control everything on the robot, right?
Yep, absolutely. From focus to zoom to aperture. But yeah, action sequences and narrative uses, and then high intensity and high impact scenes, like those are great when you got super slow-mo going. Yeah, because that robot moves so fast. You can really get some like crazy shots. Yeah. So
sick. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to plug? We're coming to the end here. Anything else? Any advice you want to give to creatives getting started?
Did I get to mention leveraging the equipment?
I guess we didn't. I mean, what are some ways that you can leverage, you know, equipment, like especially like, because I feel like I've heard that time and time again on the podcast, you know, and one person I talked about this was Damien. I think that's how he kind of started his career, is he got a Red and he would just come on set for like dirt cheap, but then like hustle, you know. And I think there's a fine line with that, like, right, because you don't want to get a piece of gear and then just rely on that, you know, like you also have to have the skills behind it. But yeah, what's your experience with like leveraging gear, and like what are some ways you could do that if someone's able to acquire gear?
Yeah, so like leveraging gear, I think comes down to ultimately like what your business game plan is. Like, and that's the whole reason why I went the improvise and Cinema Junkies route. You know, I noticed that the labor coupled up with the equipment was kind of creating some sort of, I don't know, something that clients didn't really respect or understand. So then I started separating out the equipment as labor, and then, as rentals, and then the labor was separate.
And that's what most, you know, like once you get into like legit production, that's what most people do. But like as starting out, you don't know that. You're like, I buy all my gear, and then like you get that one like production gig, and they're like, okay, like how much to rent your camera? Yeah. And I'm like, I own my camera. Like no, I'm gonna pay you to rent your camera. Like I've had a gig like that. I'm like, oh, that's more. I got like $250 for my camera. Like, you know, I had like a GH5 at the time. GH5 I'm filming on right now, but like, you know what I mean? Like when you first get that and you realize that like these higher production jobs, like they pay to rent out, you know what I mean? Like it's not included.
Yeah. One thing for sure, I don't know about you, I used to worry about how these clients were going to pay for the project. Like, how are they going to pay? If I charge them X amount of dollars, you know, is that good enough? And I think that's just comes with knowing your value, knowing what you bring to the table, and ultimately what you're solving for that client, right? Like, anyone can pick up a camera, anyone can push record, but is it, you know, are they going to be able to tell a story visually? Yeah, you know, especially
now, like where cameras are more accessible, you know, like things look good on iPhones. People
absolutely
just want,
I can love my iPhone.
Yeah. People just, you know what I mean? Like half the clips that go viral are sometimes iPhone clips, you know, like when just like our behind the scenes stuff, you know, sometimes there's like the shot where you show the behind the scenes on the iPhone and then you cut to the final, you know, sometimes those pop off. So I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's just,
Yeah. real quick though, before we go, leveraging some of the gear ultimately starts with your business. I think for the next phase of my journey, is not just help filmmakers, but eventually I want to help creative business owners, scale their business and really leverage their business. Some of the things that you should think about is, filing your LLC and, figuring out your business plan in terms of what you want to do, what problems you want to solve, for your industry, and really taking that into consideration, and how you're going to, like, if you're going to go get equipment and you want to be a rental house, then that would require, like, I would say, a different path than someone that wants to just be a DP and have their camera and use their gear. But like some of the things, one of the mentors that I went with, another different mentor that I went with and took his financial class, Colin Randall, good guy, definitely. You guys should think about bringing him on. But like, Colin Randall does business financing or has a business financing masterclass for creatives. So I already invested in that, took that class, and kind of really solidified my game plan for the next venture or for the next phase of my journey as a creative, because I think that you can always be creative, but if you don't do the business side, then you'll kind of just be stuck doing the creative. And it's very hard to scale, I feel like, at that point. But if you can do both and grow both sides, I feel like you have a chance for a successful business.
For sure. Sick. Yeah. Tight. Yeah. We'll link everything down below. Your Instagram, wherever you want to send people, I'll put a bunch of links down below.
Yes, sir.
And then, anything else you want to say before we head out?
Man, thank you for having me, Tyler, bro. It's been a pleasure. It's been a long time coming. Dude.
For sure. Yeah. I'm glad we finally made this happen.
Yeah.
That's sick.
It's been an amazing journey to watch you guys grow.
Yeah.
And feeling like we're growing too, along with you guys. Yeah. And real quick too, October 26th. It's not confirmed, but we are hosting the warehouse workshop and offer education on why you would use motion control and why you would couple that up with virtual production. And I think it's going to be a nice tandem class of information and education from some experienced players. Yeah,
should be sick.
So
tight. Yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah, you could check that down below. We'll have it linked if it's they can check it out.
Check it out.
Sick.
Coming soon. And follow us on Instagram and the Cinema Junkies and CinePacks.studios. So appreciate it.
All right, sick. Thanks for watching.
All right. Peace. Let's go.